This episode is brought to you by Affordable Drill Towers. Founded in 2016 by our good friend Steve Sanguidoce, a retired Houston, Texas firefighter, the Affordable Drill Tower was designed and built with functionality and versatility in mind for any training ground. As a standalone training tower or an add-on to an existing burn building or Connex setup, the Affordable Drill Tower packs a massive punch at an affordable price tag. With over 50 towers across the country, from Massachusetts to California, Montana to Texas, professionally engineered, NFPA and ISO compliant, the Affordable Drill Towers brings the versatility to your training ground. From Main Street USA, the small town fire company in their back parking lot, to the training grounds of the largest metropolitan fire academy, the Affordable Drill Tower fits the bill for price and functionality. Check them out at affordabledrilltowers.com. And two things I like to talk about also when talking about our friends over at Affordable Drill Towers. One, their customized training program. They have the ability to bring some of the best talent from across the country to your home turf after the install of the Affordable Drill Tower. Designing a customized training program for you and your department, Steve will facilitate some of the biggest and brightest names of the American Fire Service to come in and work with you and your department. And secondly, and I think most important, is Steve's belief in need over greed. The Affordable Drill Tower company gives back to not-for-profits that support organizations in the American Fire Service. Organizations such as the Joey D Foundation, which is near and dear to Steve Sanguidoce's heart, as well as many other not-for-profits that he takes a part of. He takes great pride in providing funding for organizations that push this job forward. So check them out, Steve and Dennis over at Affordable Drill Towers. Send them an email at info@affordabledrilltowers.com. Check them out on social media, and their YouTube page is kicking butt with great information, training nuggets, and information about their towers. So check them out, Affordable Drill Towers, and let them know Jeremy over at National Fire Radio sent you. This episode's brought to you by Ridgeway Leatherworks. Ridgeway Leatherworks is a firefighter-owned and operated business, as well as a family-run business, and that's what I love about it. Rob and his family are passionate about their customer service and the quality product and craftsmanship they put out for the emergency services. Rob's been on the show. We've been to his business. We've seen them in action. I've even tried to hand paint radio straps. I promise you, it is not as easy as what the final outcome looks like. The product is so good and so clean and crisp, and yet, man, it takes that steady hand. Rob's become a near and dear friend of our podcast, and you hear that over and over when we talk about our sponsors, that they're friends, supporters, and that's what this networking community is all about, is supporting one another. Ridgeway Leatherworks, Rob Meyer, crushing it. Quality and craftsmanship is number one. Customer service is right there with it. From custom radio straps, universal radio holsters, chin straps, flashlight holders, anti-sway straps, and locker tags made out of leather, there's plenty of opportunity along the way when you deal with Ridgeway Leatherworks. So check them out at ridgewayleatherworks.com. Find them on social media, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. And tell Rob you heard about him on the National Fire Radio platform, and give him a little plug and tell him keep up the good work. We need to support our firefighter-owned businesses, and especially family-run businesses, where his two daughters and his wife help out day in and day out along with his other employees. So again, Ridgeway Leatherworks, check them out at ridgewayleatherworks.com and find them on all your social media channels. Hey everyone, Jeremy, National Fire Radio. Welcome back to the podcast. This is going to be awesome. The last 10 minutes, the pre-recording that we do, the pre-conversation we have with the guests, I should just hit record from the second they pop up on the screen. I should be hitting record because we just had a great conversation. Battalion Chief Tom Gherman out of Roanoke, Fire and EMS in Virginia. Chief, thank you for joining me today.
Hey, I appreciate it. Thank you again for having me on. I enjoy the opportunity.
This is cool. So I start every podcast, say how I get to know the guest, how I know the guest, how we got here. This is very simple and straightforward. At the end of every podcast, for a while, I was asking people to send me emails or text messages or DMs about people that were important to them. You know, guys and girls in the fire service that are making an impact. And I had a brother out of Roanoke reach out to me and say that Tom Gherman, Battalion Chief Tom Gherman, needs to be on your show. And I love it. And the email I got was very full of a lot of incredible information, and it truly was a testament to the leader you are within your department, the impact you have on your people, and it's an absolute honor to have you on the show today, because when you're nominated by your peers, that's what speaks loudest, and
Very special.
it's awesome.
It's very special. Again, I'm humbled. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on, man. It's awesome.
Thank you for trusting me being on, because I'm sure this isn't the easiest thing for you, especially, you know,
it is.
As humble as we all are. It's like,
right.
You know, but your message resonates. And the last 10 minutes of us talking before I hit the record button, great conversation, already laughing and that's what this is about. This podcast is built on people like you who love the job, who love their people, who go to work. You said just before you go, I turn things off. My mind is on work when I go to work. I'm there to work.
Yes, sir. Yeah. I got my wheels are always spinning. It seems like it's like when I'm on a 4-day break, when I'm getting ready to go to work, I've got like, all right, what do I want to accomplish this coming cycle with the guys? What do we need? What are we going to do? I mean, all the other stuff I know we have to get done, but where can we fit in? Where can we squeeze in some time to get down to the nitty gritty? You know.
So almost 30 years in the fire service, and you're still thinking on the day before you're going back to the firehouse what you're going to be doing in the firehouse, and you still get jazzed up and excited to get back.
Amen. Yes, sir. I do.
Why?
I just love it. I feel like some things I'm good at, and there's other things I got to work on. You know, like the same thing. I see the same things that the guys are good at, and I hope they're doing the same thing. They're doing like a self-assessment, going, man, I haven't touched that in a while. I need to knock the rust off of that, or put some oil on it. Let this squeaky wheel that hey, we haven't done an example of foam mops or something.
Sure.
You know, we haven't done that in a while. We haven't talked to hazmat in a while. We had a bad hazmat call or anything like that. So let's review that stuff. Let's dig out some books. Let's get the guys who know what they're talking about. Let's have a quick cluster and let's shoot some ideas out there and come up with some training and knock it out. You know, just to keep the wheel spinning.
Training's important to your, hands down. You said that to me. We were talking about some things we wanted to talk about. You said training is important to you. When you're at the firehouse, you're there to work. Gherman's going to put us to work today. That's what the guys say. When you walk in a firehouse,
they're going to make us do something. He's going to ask you questions. He's going to make you do something. That's right.
Where does that come from? Like, you know, I'm sure outside of the firehouse, you have a work ethic and demeanor about yourself, but that has to come from your upbringing. Now, what's really cool is 1992, you became a member of the Lewisburg, West Virginia Volunteer Fire Department. You followed in your father's footsteps. You got to see what the volunteer fire service was all about as a kid. And at 16 years old, you walked in the door to follow in your father's footsteps, right?
Yeah, yes, sir. Like I say, just to watch the excitement, of course, you know, being a little kid and growing up and teenager, things like that, the fire trucks, the community input that you had, you see them at schools in their bad shirts talking fire prevention, and you see them Santa Claus in a truck driving through the neighborhoods, handing out candy, Halloween parades, all that kind of stuff. That's an appeal too. But as you get older, you start looking back and go, I was around some really awesome men that gave to their community. And they're still there. God help them, they're still alive. There's huge names in my mind that are still big in that community, that still volunteer and still have an impact on the younger men and women. Don't get me wrong, but it just takes a while for you to realize, like, man, that dude, he is smart. He's quick on his toes. He knows he's calm, cool, collected. He knows what he's doing when a proverbial crap hits the fan, that kind of stuff. And at a young age, you kind of like start soaking that in, and you don't realize, and maybe when you get in a leadership position, you get older, that stuff starts coming out of you. You're like, where'd that come from? And like you say, it's just kind of embedded, ingrained into you, you know?
You think about, like, so you and I were laughing before we hit record, and I was telling you a story about my old man just from the other night, and myself competing engine companies for a car fire the other night. It was just fun. And it's moments I get to have with my father. Right. And to have some of the same with yours. And you talk about those other guys that have given back so much to their community. That sets the table for an impressionable kid to see, right? You made me start thinking about the older guys that I remember as a kid coming up through the volunteer firehouse and seeing how passionate these guys were about the community they served and how protective they were of the sanctity of their fire department.
That's right.
It was
these guys. I mean, it was, they did. They show up, they leave their jobs, volunteer, the whistle went off, the pager went off, all that stuff. They show up to the firehouse and they give what they could give. And these guys, again, I know they had the same experience. You had guys that were, people in Vietnam, other wars, things like that. All these old timers that I know did the same thing. Had a set of glasses and some earmuffs, ear on. Listen to these guys throughout their careers, and again, and passing that stuff on. The whole 9 yards. It was awesome.
It really is. And I don't think a lot of us valued how important that was or instrumental that was in our upbringing until later on in life, right? As you mature,
Right.
you get older, you start to really think back to those that probably gave so much that at the time you took for granted.
Right. Exactly. So again, and to tap into some other things, my father was hurt as a volunteer. He got hit by a chimney in 1986.
Oh, wow.
I'm a T-ball player, and they had drills on Thursday nights, was their drill night, and go to T-ball, and they're burning this garage/house down for training, right? Back in the day, and middle of the night, that thing rekindles. My dad was the assistant chief, so we're in bed, we're in home in bed, and the pager thing goes off, and Dad gets up and goes. The next morning, it's like pandemonium hits, But anyway, he got hit in the head. He got hit in the head with a chimney after mopping up after this fire. Right, he's walking down the sidewalk, and the chimney falls and hits him square on the head. And thank God for helmets. Right, thank God he was wearing it properly, the whole 9 yards. And then he stayed in Roanoke over here for about a year, maybe a little bit more than a year. Countless surgeries, all kinds of stuff. So some of that tragedy kind of sticks into you to realize, like, hey, this was for a reason. You see the sacrifice and this and that. And you saw the community, you saw my community back home, kind of rally around my mother, me and my brother,
Yeah.
And so, like I say, all that stuff has impacted me through my years to realize how important it is to be as smart as you can be, as safe as you can be, competent as you can be in every skill aspect when you're out there,
Yeah. Wow. There's so much there. I mean, fortunately, thank you. Right. Thank God that, he was able to come through it. Right.
Amen. Yeah.
What you think about, though, too, is the sacrifice that he made, right? Volunteering for his community, but then what the community did for you and the family. Because I worry today that we're losing sight of that. I worry today that guys that got injured 30 years ago, their families, wives, kids were treated cream of the crop, top, whatever needed to be done, we took care of it. And now today, I feel like there's a little bit more of a disconnect, and that family atmosphere might not be as strong as it once was. And I worry about that today.
Yeah, I agree a little bit. Like I said, you still have there's the few that come out, again, but there was people that come out of the woodworks, like complete strangers that you had no idea lived in the community, didn't even know their name, showing up and helping and things like that. And so again, that service to help others is kind of not as prevalent in today's society as it was.
That had to leave a huge mark on you.
It did. It totally did. And I think it's funny, and everything happens for a reason. I truly believe that. It's God's will that things happen, and hopefully you learn and grow from things. And another instance happened to me back home. Again, good things came out of it. It was a tragedy. I did with a neighboring department in Fairleigh, West Virginia, which is just down the road from Lewisburg. In 1998, I had a volunteer that I took fire classes with. He died in the fire, and we had the whole NIOSH thing go through. And so I take that experience in, and I feel like, again, I take the job so serious, maybe too serious sometimes. And now I'm getting older again. I'm trying to learn how to get the message out there, but not so, like punch in the mouth type stuff.
I get it.
The approach, but all those experiences that I had, as a volunteer, I'm sure you've had the same thing. You're out there in your own community. You know who was in that car wreck, or whose house that was that burned up. That kind of stuff. That stuff molds you and turns you into a different person, exactly who you are. So those experiences back home definitely made me grow and and take the job a hell of a lot more seriously, especially when I, gotten into paid service, tested different places, and realized like I really want to do this for a job, and
that
because
upbringing,
I enjoy it.
Yeah, that upbringing in the volunteer house, then you caught the bug though.
Very much so.
Even with tragedy and being around some things that not every day is a good day.
Right.
You still fell in love with this job.
Yeah, I sure do. Like I said, just the excitement of it, and realizing we're out here to actually help somebody and do the honest to God best we can, give the best service we can. I say it all the time, and I can't remember where I heard it. It's kind of cliche or whatever, but there is no 912.
Yeah,
There's they and I try to impress that upon the guys every day that we come to work, that it's ours today. When they call the cops for certain things, and what's a finally the dispatcher finally called and say, who are we gonna give that to? Call the fire department.
Yeah,
they got to have some idea,
The default. Yeah, absolutely.
The default, right?
Yeah,
because that's the thing.
Yeah,
they will show up and make stuff happen. They will figure shit out.
That's it. So with you falling in love with it, you pursued the career aspect of it. You got hired in Roanoke, Virginia in 2000.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Started there, got into the academy, went through I want to say it was 17 weeks back then, and had, again, it was the first year of a regional academy that they combined with the localities of Roanoke County, Salem, and they built a brand new building in 99 and 2000. So we had a regional cooperation where this training center all came together. So we had county people in the academy, just us two localities that year, and went through that. And again, huge impression on guys who showed up and showed me they knew what they were talking about.
Yeah.
And it made me go, hey, I want to know that guy. I want to know what that guy knows. I want to be able to do what that guy does, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And it just started growing from there. Yeah.
That's powerful. So what did your early days look like in Roanoke? I mean, coming out of the academy, was it everything you wanted it to be? Taking it to the next level?
To start with, it was a slow learn, like a long walk. How's that sound? Like, first assignment I was in a little slower engine company. The deputy chief operations said, "Hey, you came with some college," because I had associate's degree when I showed up, and he said, "You got some college. I can't place you right now in a busy house, this and that. I'm going to stick you out here at the outline company, but get your butt back in college, and let's see where this goes." And so I started out in a slower engine company on the outskirts of town, Engine 11. It's kind of it's a backup to Southeast Roanoke, and started there. I spent 9 months or so there, and then got moved over to Station 6, which was the next neighboring engine company. Busy medic unit, busy engine, and then my dream was to be a ladder company.
Yeah,
be on a ladder company. My back home had I'm trying to think of what year it was. It was a 70-some model, open cab, American LaFrance 100-foot tiller. So I fell in love with that thing. Maybe
how could you not?
Than that.
Yeah.
Oh man,
that's being a fireman right there. Just riding on that thing.
Open cab, getting rained on, all that crap. Just suck it up and drive the truck. Right.
Love it.
And Roanoke at the time had one tiller. We still do. We still have one tiller downtown. And even during the training at the academy, and you run calls. That was our Southeast ladder company. I was at 6 and 11. You see those guys show up, and here's these old timers, gray hair, get off the truck and go to work. I mean, they just like outwork a 22-year-old,
Yeah.
So,
well, it reminded you of your early days in Lewisburg, right?
Right. He did. Totally did. Did. Those guys, they showed up, and again, just worked. They didn't, no complaining. They knew what to do, knew how to do it, and you just get off the truck, and you can honestly see that respect as soon as you get off the truck. You realize, like, hey, that guy knows what he's doing, and it was just awesome. And I eventually got to replace two of those old guys had left 2003 or so. I got moved from 6 and went to Station 7, which was an engine company, a ladder company, or Quint. And I got placed on ladder there for about a year. And then the two old guys that I was talking about ended up retiring from downtown. 30 plus years on a job as firefighters. They never promoted, just solid, hardcore.
Love that.
common firemen. They know what they were doing. So I got to replace those guys. I worked with them a couple of days before which I worked with them on shift, but
Sure.
just to go down and watch them and things like that. So I went to downtown, the old Station 1, which was down at number 13 Church Avenue in Roanoke. So it's one of the oldest fire stations. We ended up moving out of that thing in 2007. They built a brand new station. So if you ever make it to Roanoke, it's this historic station downtown.
Yeah, I'd love to. I'd love to. Yeah.
It's awesome. It's awesome. So yeah, I got sent down there, and then around 2006, I got promoted to lieutenant. In our department, lieutenants are driver operators. So
Okay.
there's a captain on engine companies and captains on. Well, at old Station 1, it was a captain on ladder company. So at 7, now they've cut that engine out, and now it's just a Quint ladder company, and there's a captain there. But anyway, so our lieutenants are driver operators.
Got it.
And so I was blessed to stay there. A couple of guys that I was with at the time, they got promoted and moved up in rank and moved out. So I was chief, so I thought well enough of me. And
Nice. Yeah.
Trying to keep some cohesiveness downtown. So hey, this guy's been here for 5 or 6 years. Let's just leave him down here. So luckily, I got to stay there.
Nice. Yeah.
So kept that truck going, and then we moved into the new Station 1, which they kind of consolidated. Old Station 3, old Engine 3, which was can't off the top of my head, let's say 6-8 blocks away, another station. Older station. They shut Engine 3 down and ladder 1 down and combined them into new Station 1. So built that, moved into there, and I spent a couple years there in that station. And they shipped me to the train division in 2009. So I spent some time out in the train division.
What part of that career? I mean, now, in a battalion chief's buggy and so on, before we get there, what part of this was pivotal for you? Like, what did you enjoy being a lieutenant, a captain? Like, what part of the journey, or let me ask you this before we even get there, that move over from the engine to the truck, was it what you wanted it to be?
It was. I look at it, and again, and during all that time, I even talked, not to throw out names and things like that, but I hadn't even got to talk about the people along the way. Each of those stations had somebody in it.
Yeah, and talk about it, man.
So especially
this is your show.
Well, I don't want to take over the conversation.
You're good. Go.
I got to Station 7 in 2002, 2003, somewhere in there. It was 2002 because I spent about a year there, and I had a captain who was great. I had a first lieutenant with that station. Our first lieutenant was the ladder company officer, and then I had a lieutenant on my ladder company who's been pivotal ever since I've met that guy. I consider him a brother, a father, a best friend. I call that guy anytime, all the time. We talk regularly. We've got to eat lunch, things like that. That guy is who's what turned me into this whole other side of the service. So getting in the books, getting into learning. There you can take it from base level, or you can take it as high as you can get. I mean, to college level stuff. So, and some guys like to just stay, wherever they're comfortable in. And my buddy Jim, who pushed me continuously to learn, go take classes. Hey, try read this guy, look at this guy. What do you think of this type of stuff? And really, he was in our department. He's known as Dr. Jim because he was the hydraulics guy. He's the pump and ladder guy.
Love it. Yeah.
And he could get water out of a turnip. He's just the dude knew how to pump and operate. And I saw that. And again, and I try to take that on to, again, we'll get to it, I guess, is a role in my battalion chief's job. He saw potential, and I would give anything. I think I have some of it, but he had the glasses or the binoculars or whatever you want to call it to see potential in me, and then he dug it out of me.
Yeah,
how he did that.
Yeah,
and so I praise all those guys that I have come up and been blessed to be around. That those guys gave enough to say, "Hey, Tom, I think you can do this," and then let's go do it. That kind of stuff. So all through that was the pivotal part.
Yeah, well, we all need somebody like that, right? I mean, none of us. It always takes someone to point out something that we're not aware about. People get a
Exactly.
sense, right? We all have a sense about other people around us, and we see that many of my friends, many people professionally, personally, don't live up to the
Right.
expectation I think they can. I think
Right.
everybody has more in them, right? But
There's a huge amount of potential in people. Exactly. And I know that's not just for me.
no,
On other
right.
shifts, other places, there's guys doing the exact same thing with
Yes.
you never know what they're, you never know how that guy know that. Well, he was around Jeremy. Jeremy taught him that stuff, and Jeremy pushed him out,
And that's where people don't understand it until later on, is that what you can affect in people pays 100 times over in dividends, right?
Oh, wow. Exactly. Totally.
Like this, Dr. Jim saw something in you and pushed you to be better. Now
Yeah.
you're pushing others to be better. You're pushing
Exactly.
different guys. You got nominated. A brother reached out on his own accord to say, hey, you should have Battalion Chief Gherman on. This guy has done so much for the department, so much for me personally, so much. That Dr. Jim is the reason why. I mean, Tom, you're a rock star. Don't get me wrong, but Dr. Jim and the guy before Dr. Jim, right? Like,
exactly.
That's how important this is.
Those guys that took that time and cultivated and invested in those guys, things like that. It's amazing. It was funny. Another guy, when I went to Engine 6, I volunteered. I had some truck behind the wheel time. I could drive a truck, drive and operate. It was very, very basic. Nothing to the level where Jim took me, of course.
Right.
But I had an old captain there. I had pumped one fire off of Engine 11. I had an old captain when I got there, 30 some odd years. Great guy. But he wasn't a go-getter. He was on the tail end of his career, 35, 36 years in the department.
Right.
And I pumped one fire. I got to Station 6, and that captain over there said, so how do you think that fire went? I said, well, I guess it was okay. The fire went out. Nobody had any complaints. Had a couple people come up to me, hey, can I get more pressure on this line? All that kind of stuff.
Yep.
And he goes, well, what was you pumping that 2.5 at? I did the old scratch my head. He's got me back in the bunk room, sitting on a bed.
Sure.
Just kind of quizzing me, trying to feel me out. He's like, so what was that? What'd you do there? And I'm like, Captain, I don't know. He's like, all right, well, you're not gonna be driving and operating for me. So he kind of put me in my place and realized, like, hey, you know what you're doing, but you really need to know even deeper what you know. So that was another spark that hit me. Like, he's right. I pumped the line. They asked for more pressure. I got it up to what I thought was right, and this and that. But it was the reasons why we need that line to be spot on every time. What it's supposed to be. That's another one of those kick in the asses I got. Like, ooh, yeah, he's right.
There's so much to that, right? So many people think that they have gotten to a place in their career where they've done it, they know it, right? I don't need to train on it anymore, right?
Oh, yeah.
And all of a sudden you get kicked in the teeth, and then the guy in the back of the bunk room goes, yeah, so what'd you pump that 2.5 at? And you're like, I've been pumping this apparatus I've been an operator for 12 engine company chauffeur for 12 years. And you go, maybe you could do your job even better if you allowed yourself to continue to learn, right? Put yourself in a better place.
Exactly.
That's where the complacency sets in, though, Chief. Complacency
You're right.
is
and again,
plaguing our industry.
Totally. And again, that thought they might have about me again. So let's keep the rust off of it. Let's get out here and do it. There's a reason why. There's not just to go out. Oh, we've thrown this ladder for 12 times this year. Well, let's do it again. So when it is time, then it's just automatic.
Well, you didn't
get on a bike and ride it the first time. I know damn well you did.
That's right. And that makes me think I haven't been on a bicycle in a while, so I should probably my bike. You know what I mean? But that's a true statement, by the way. This episode's brought to you by the Affordable Standpipe Prop. Let's break it down real quick. Steve and the crew at Affordable Drill Towers is doing it again. They've created this fully custom and fabricated standpipe prop to support the fire service. I'm telling you right now, this is a game-changing piece of training equipment. And I want to hop into it real quick. It is designed with a 4-inch manifold of high-strength galvanized Schedule 10 pipe. The cart and manifold are powder-coated red for a durable finish, meaning it's not just a talking piece. It's not something you tuck away on the shelf. This is a training prop that can be wheeled into the classroom and then brought out onto the training ground. And so let's talk about that. In the classroom, there's nothing better than having a hands-on prop in front of the students, in front of the fire companies that are there to learn about standpipe and FDC connections. Having that prop in the classroom allows for a great instructional lecture. And then from there, take the standpipe theory and translate it to the training grounds. You could wheel the cart out that's on casters, you wheel it out into the parking lot, and that same training prop that you just used hands-on in the classroom can now be used hands-on on the training ground by pumping into it and flowing out of it. It offers such versatility in its approach. It has a 2.5-inch Siamese connection, 7 2.5-inch outlets, 6 of which are standpipe valves, has a water motor gong, sprinkler head with a control valve, and a system pressure gauge. You can also upgrade and put 3 of the most common field-adjustable PRVs. I'm telling you right now, this is a game-changing training prop that needs to be in every fire company or training department across the country. Reach out to Steve and the crew, info@affordabledrilltowers.com. Ask for a demo, ask for information, or check them out on social media and YouTube. There's plenty of content out there that shows you exactly what the affordable standpipe prop can do for you. This episode's brought to you by Taylor's Tins. Taylor and his crew at Taylor's Tins have been manufacturing aluminum helmet fronts since 2017. With over 200,000 tins in the market, they are a leader in the helmet front space. Custom design, one-offs to department orders, they can turn them around within 24 to 48 hours. Customer service is what they pride themselves on, and they provide nothing but top-shelf product and service to their customers. Check them out at taylorstins.com and check out their full line of product offering. They've always been a very strong supporter since day one with the National Fire Radio podcast and platform, and Taylor and his crew have become dear friends of ours, and we appreciate the support. And at checkout, for a little extra bonus, use coupon code NFR Sent Me. That's NFR Sent Me for a discount on your order. Exclusions do apply. Anyway, check out taylorstins.com for the latest and greatest offerings from Taylor and his crew. And in the words of Taylor, stop burning up leather. However, you said before when we started right before we started recording, you talked about how important training was to you, but also the basics. And you said that you love to drill on the basics because the basics aren't as prevalent as they once were because of all the other duties and tasks that you guys have to handle on a daily basis. Talk about that a little bit.
Yes, sir. Like I say, so just time, just straight out time. We have, we work 24-hour shifts, and it's trying to create habits, and we have certain things we do every single day. So, going to the store, cleaning the trucks, checking them off, all those other things that we have to find small amounts of time to do that, to do these short drills. And like I say, luckily, like these guys that asked or sent you an email about me and some others, and I know what's going on in every station, on every shift, not just my guys, because it's going on. And it's so awesome to hear, because it is important. Those guys go, hey, let's get this ladder off. Let's throw us 24 today. Or the next day is like, there's one captain I work with now. He's like, they're pulling a line every day, every single day. Like, you think you were good today? Let's see what happens next day, and let's change it up. Let's go catch it. Let's go catch a hider. Let's do all those basic stuff. So it's super important, because today's fire service is not what it was 20, even 15 years ago. Not alone 30. Like I say, we're just doing more for the public. We have huge demand in EMS and first responder. That's not say weighing down. It's just a stress on the department. Sure. And that's not just Roanoke by no means. I know that's everywhere, and that guys are being stretched thin. And the volume, call volume, things like that. So we're out doing all other good things. Don't get me wrong. They're great things. We're trying to help the community. We're here for install smoke detectors. We're out doing pub eds with this group and that group, and meeting with these kids and the schools and all this other stuff. But we can't get away from knowing the basics of the job. We've got to be able to do those small things. And that's what it is. It's incremental things that we do every day. Just like we were talking about a second ago, we're investing in and cultivating the skill that when it does hit the fan at 2 a.m, and it's that kid you just talked to at the pub ed event hanging out that window, that ladder goes up like that. That line gets deployed like that. That pump goes in gear just like that. I mean, all those basics,
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I mean, we're stretching companies thinner and thinner. We're looking at the more involvement, the better, right? However,
Yeah.
we can't. I mean, that's the
Yeah.
mindset, right?
Right.
However,
Call the fire department.
right. However,
Yeah.
we need to be sure that the basics of the job, extinguishment, search, even salvage, right? Like we've lost track
Totally.
of like
Oh, that's a lost
protecting
skill, big
property,
time.
right? Yeah, 100%.
Yes,
But
sir.
all these functions that the fire service is fundamentally there for, some of those services are being sacrificed for the smoke detector programs, for the pub ed projects, and things like
Right.
that. And we're not allowing our people to be fundamentally capable of handling the basics if we're not constantly training and drilling on them, because
Correct.
our time is being interfered with other obligations.
Right. Right. And I go back to like which the rookie schools now are 19 weeks. Don't quote me on that. I guess
Yeah,
somewhere
no,
in there between EMT class is the first 4 to 5 weeks, and depending on the class, they kind of break it up sometimes. But so what I'm getting at there is we are taking another aspect of this is the people we're employing, the people that are coming to the job are different than they were 25 years ago, or even different than I am. Just different skill set, different mindset of everything. That we're cramming this stuff down in a short amount of time. We're taking, always would say, making a bank teller and turn them into a firefighter.
Yeah.
That whole, it's all brand new. I mean, it's like algebra, Chinese algebra, or whatever you want to call it, to try to get this person to do this skill, and then not realizing that we have to take extra time and relearn this skill, even though they're getting crammed through a fire school, and they learn. Don't get me wrong, but some of that doesn't stick. You know what I'm saying? So that's back to this.
How can it?
Basic stuff every day.
When it's being force fed to you in a timetable that pushes you to get onto the street quicker because we need guys in the companies, but we have to maintain this level of academy standards and we have to get all this information to you, but we're rushing the process. It's impossible to retain it all. It is.
Exactly. Some things just do not stick. Yeah.
Right.
So
and the reinforcement then on the company level is super important.
Totally. And we have good things in place. Again, we got rookie books. I don't know if you guys have rookie books. Come out with come out with a book, and I actually found that stuff when I was in training. Found it out of I can't remember what department was in Florida. Looked into their stuff. Like, man, that's a great idea. So when you get this brand new guy who is fresh out of the box, ready to go ripping, and let's say he gets stuck to an engine company out on the outskirts, and the captain and lieutenant are kind of on the tail end of their career, and they're kind of like, I've done that, kid. We're not going to do much today. That this rookie book kind of forced them to say, hey, check me off on this. What is this about? We need to go catch a hide. So all these skills are stuck in this book. So it kind of reinforces what they learned in the academy, and again, to the repetitive stuff.
It also forces the company to be a part of the process.
Totally.
That's what I love, right?
Exactly. It helps that old captain go, oh yeah, that's how we do that.
Oh yeah, right. Exactly. I mean, I love when that happens. I love when you find it happens a lot with me. I go into a lot of firehouses. I meet with a lot of guys. I do a lot of front bumper conversations in firehouses. Yeah. And it's usually the younger guys that we start chatting it up and we're talking, and there's always one or two crusty guys in the back, and they're just not interested. A visitor, I don't want a visitor at the fire. Like, we don't want to entertain you. Go away. Yeah. Like, who's this guy? And then they start hearing the conversation. And then they start seeing the involvement of the other guys that they're riding the rig with that are now jumping in this conversation. And
their eyes, exactly.
All of a sudden, these guys start circling, and they come out of the day room and they start circling around, and then offer like a one-liner, and then they back up and circle around again. And then next thing you know, they're in the middle of the conversation telling stories that none of these guys have heard before. For me, that is the best thing I can do, is to facilitate the conversation. And when these senior guys come out of their hole, out of their shell, out of the dark room in the back, and they want to come out and start telling those stories and sharing some experiences, that right there is where the American Fire Service wins every time.
Exactly. New life breathed into them. It's like they realize that, and that's what I would impress upon guys now in my position now is like, hey, I need you to help me with this guy here.
I love that.
You're complaining to me. This guy doesn't know this. He's done this, and he's lazy at that. Well, help me to help him. I need your experience. I know you know what you've been exposed to. I know your story. You've done this and done that and taken this class. So let me use you to help this guy. Let's do this thing together
Don't,
versus just
yeah.
constantly, well, this guy doesn't know crap. What is he doing? This kid, all these things, you know.
Don't stunt the growth of the new guy. Like
Right.
that is, to me, Chief, is one of the most frustrating things I see when we have eager and excitable people and the people around them could give two shits to help them to survive or not. How many
Right.
people do we chase away? How many
Right.
people do we torpedo their career, either
Totally.
volunteer or career? Because we have a lot of volunteer people that listen
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
this too.
Do the
And it
same
happens
stuff.
there,
Exactly.
right? The
Yeah.
same
Exactly.
thing. How many careers get torpedoed because of bad leadership or guys that aren't willing to put in any time or experience to talk with the new kid or help them out?
Yeah. Yeah. It's prevalent, like I say, and I don't know. That's part of the problem with the fire service now. Is again, I know in everybody's career, even the guys in the '60s probably had the same complaints about stuff.
Yeah.
This kid doesn't know this, or this kid doesn't know that, and then they and to get off back to like training, and that's one of my philosophies. In between getting the experience, getting this guy the time on behind the wheel, or getting the guy behind the nozzle, things like that, because those experiences we can't teach experience. We don't have that until we go to a fire, till we go to a extrication, till we go to those EMS calls. And my philosophy in between that, the lull between that experience and right now, is we're going to work on the basics. So when that experience comes, we knock it out of the park.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like I say, it's so it's funny how it's like perpetuated over the years. That the complainers, come out, things like that. But I really employ and draw on them. Please help me, help us. This effort, this group, this whole battalion, this shift, this department.
Well, you're in a unique position as a battalion chief, right? So how many companies are you managing within the city?
I'm on the south side currently, so I have 6 stations. Ladder 7 is I have 2 ladder companies. City's broke up into like pizza pie. North and South Battalion, East and West is cut down. It's an old railroad town, so
Okay.
railroad tracks split north and south. And the main drag down through old downtown is Jefferson Street. Kind of splits the town east and west.
Got it.
And so I have 6 engine companies and 2 ladder companies on the south side. And then there's a battalion chief on the north side that has 5 companies, which are 4 engine companies and 2 ladder companies. So we work together.
So where I was headed with that, right, is as a battalion chief, setting the tempo for your tour, setting the expectations for your companies, right? There's the company level expectation that the bosses, lieutenant captain, right, what they have for their companies and what's
expected. Right.
But then you as a battalion have an expectation of your companies as well. And you expect certain things out of them. So how does that middle, everybody, the company boss is a great position. The battalion chief position, you're almost like middle management, right? And I don't mean to do, I'm not trying to trying to find the right way to talk about it, right? But you're getting pressure from above and finding a way to work with the company bosses below you so that the message disseminates out to the backstep firefighter. So that battalion chief position, you can get pulled in many different directions.
Correct. And I will say that I'm still learning this. I'm very young into it, and I've got to grow and learn into this job. It's not easy. I'll say that. I'm not for sympathy, none of that stuff. It's not easy, but nothing easy is worth having. So trying to work on the stuff that that does come from upstairs, downtown, however you want to call it, that I have to disseminate out to the companies. It is sometimes tough. Again, between personnel, pay, all these things, the training. We've got guys that we're going through paramedic classes, things like all these small balls we have to juggle.
Yeah.
And then boil down to making sure that I've got my 43 guys and in Tom's view, fed, trained, and happy for the day and going home tomorrow. And in between there, it is time. It is difficult, but I feel like even now, I feel like I have a better opportunity to impact the department at my level as I did with the captain. as a captain, I took orders from chief, things like that, and I knew my role when I showed up on scenes, things like that, and now I'm overseeing all that stuff. But now I'm not, like, my big drive now is trying to get guys to let's do things together. Let's work with, not just at fires. We need to get out here and learn each other. We have company, we have picnics and things like that. Let's get to the station, all that stuff. So let's get to know each other a hell of a lot better than we did 2 months ago. So
I do.
I'm not sure I'm answering that question perfectly, but it is difficult.
No, that's perfect. And so here's the thing, right? I mentioned earlier on that you were nominated to be on the show, and I don't mean that in a weird nominate. Like, you don't get nominated to be on the show, but it was like your peers, guys that appreciate who you are, recommended that you would be, an invaluable guest on the podcast. And I agree wholeheartedly, because your message is so genuine and true. But I love what they put in here. It says, not only is he a great mentor inside of work, but he's also always a phone call away if anybody ever needed him. And I'm reading it, the email, and things like that stand out to me, because so many people turn off this job. So many people walk up, they leave and they come back. And the people that are invested 24 hours a day. And I know we need to turn this off every once in a while. We have to, for the sanity of it, right? But ultimately, when you are in it, you're in it. How important is it to have that type of relationship with your people? A relationship that your people know that on a personal level, you're there for them, because then on a professional level, you're there for them as well. Meaning they get jammed up on a fire ground, they hear your voice come across the radio, they know it's taken care of. How important is that?
And it's super important. Those relationships, again, to the guys that are plugged in, dialed in, whatever you want to call it, or even the guy that's just there to do the job. He's there for the paycheck. He's there for the retirement, that kind of thing. On duty or off duty. Again, so I look at it. I'm here for you, because if you definitely could count on me while I'm at work, and so it kind of folds over. And I think that's one of the things that's unique to the fire service. I know the police department probably does the same thing, but we do things together off duty, and we're friends. It's almost like even at the captain level, but not just because the title, but some days you're dad, some days you're the boss, some days you're the ears, you're the mentor, you're the coach, all those type things that fall into that. But so it's important to me that the guys have that trust outside of the job just as well as they do when they're in the stations, because ultimately we're covering each other's backs, and back again, just to the service of the mindset of the fire service altogether is we're here for them. Well, we need to be here for each other. So again, you need me for anything, I'm here. We got guys that are brand new dads or brand new, getting ready to get married, all that. I've done the same stuff. You did the same stuff. You were young, getting married, things like that. There's somebody you can call and go, hey man, what's going on? I'm not your best friend. I don't have to be, in all things, but you need me, I'll reach out. I'm here for you. If you need me.
There is so much to that. I love when I have guests on and we're having similar conversations, and they talk about what the job has given them. And it's not just on a level of professionalism for how good of a firefighter they become, their skill sets. It's the life lessons.
Correct.
And that is what's super unique about this institution that we're all part of, is that anything you need, it's right here.
Yep. We got guys. That's the funny thing. Where ran into some people at the gym the other day. It's like, what fireman does this? What fireman's an electrician? You got an electrician fire? It's like, yeah, I know a guy.
Yeah.
Or what guy does? All these things.
I got a guy.
Yeah. Here's his number. And so even to me, we came back from the beach a couple weeks ago. My air conditioning's out. It's like, who do I know? Who do I have? Who's an AC guy in the fire? Right? Crap, we ain't got an AC guy. So had to go outside, but pretty much anything else, we got somebody, and there again, I think just that service-minded attitude, demeanor, character of the individual is like, sure, hey, I'll be over there. You what's going on? I'll help you out. You need your grass mowed, we'll do it.
It's just
you broke a leg, it is. And so that's something else that drew me to the fire department. Again, I think it's just
We cannot,
somebody shows up.
we
Somebody shows up.
cannot lose sight of that.
Exactly.
We can't lose
Exactly.
sight of showing up for the public, like you said. Them, we can't. That's our
Yeah.
job, right? Career
That's right.
volunteer. We're there for the public. We arrive whenever they need us. We should do the very same for our own people. When they need us, we better arrive.
Every time. Exactly.
Hmm.
Exactly.
I love
So
that. How much of
they,
that? Yeah, go ahead.
no, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, how much of that comes from your upbringing? And you know, I mean, you talked about when your father was injured and how the town came to support your family. Like, are these all
Yeah.
things that, like, just through your life have been so important to you that you make sure that you walk that walk?
Best I can. Like I say, luckily, I think some of it's inherited. Again,
Yeah,
I think the world of my father, and everybody does, not to
sure.
get too sappy on that, but, just, I think it's just ingrained. Again, thank God that I have the skill and ability to see things and be there for somebody, that type of thing. I think, it was learned. The community came about, my grandparents stepped up. I mean, everybody just stepped up. Again, I think it took time for that to finally hit you, like
Hmm.
realize, like, oh, they're here again. That's nice. Oh, they brought us a covered dish of whatever, that
Yeah.
type thing. So it's super important that we do the same thing. To me, it's just ingrained. It's just kind of there, and not exactly sure how it got there. You know what I'm saying?
I kind of do, because a lot of this is hard to put into words, right? And
It is. It is.
I also think a lot of it is just ingrained in the individual. I think character has so much to do with it. And you think about the people that carry themselves in a way that you want to emulate.
Totally.
You talked about Dr. Jim, like, a
Yeah.
guy that you wanted to be like. I mean,
Right.
his impact is felt so far and broad, and it's because he's a man of character,
Yeah.
right? That
Integrity,
matters.
character. He had exactly. They knew the way he carried himself, and to this day still does. And just that, it's hard, like I say, hard to put into words.
Yeah.
He was knowledgeable, all these things. Again, to me, a leader that had been through, not the best of times and seen hard times, as everybody does. All these stories that are out there, but again, he knew how to get that out of people. He knew how to get to people, talk to people, teach people, grow people, all that stuff. So it was just a part of Jim.
Do
That's
you,
his character. That's his integrity.
is it hard for you to understand that that's who you are today now? I
It
love
is.
asking guys like that question.
What a question, right? It is, and I said the same thing to the guys that wrote you the email, and to you through our
Yeah.
text and
Right.
talking. I'm just humbled that I'm even there. I feel like, in the back of my mind, that yeah, I get it, and I
Mm.
hope I'm continue to do the right thing.
Yes.
That because that's all I want for guys to be safe and do all those things. But again, it's hard to believe that I'm just humbled by it.
Yeah.
Again, I attribute it to everybody I've ever crossed paths with. The good and the bad in the fire service that have impacted me. Going, that's how to do it, or that's not how we need to do that. Let's change that a different way. Like
Yep.
next time I see that, let's not. That didn't
Yep.
work.
Yep. For
That
sure.
kind of stuff.
For
So
sure.
I'm humbled. I'm very appreciative of guys that see me that way. Not just for position. I'm honored to be a battalion chief. It's been a dream. It was a goal. From the time I got hired, and
Sure.
again, I'm working on it. So every step that I've gone through, I've tried to take it on and make it better and leave it better than I found it.
So
That old saying.
you say you're working on it. How long have you been in the battalion position now?
Let's see. Uh, we've had a mass exodus. Excuse me. We've had a
Mm.
mass exodus. I say we've had a lot of retirements, a lot of attrition. Things happen.
Right.
Guys going on, they got their years, they're moving on to other jobs, different things like that. So a couple of years ago, and I tested for battalion this is the third or fourth time I tested. And anyway, the long and the short, the guy had left my old battalion chief, took the position in the training division where another battalion chief retired. So his spot came up last June, and he went, and myself and another captain were backfilling for those two battalion chiefs in the field.
Got it.
That were so we've been actually doing the job since last June, June-ish, 1st of June,
Okay.
middle of June, end of June, somewhere in there.
Are you? But you are
and then got officially. Yeah, we got officially promoted in November.
officially okay. Okay, so you were
Yeah,
covering as a
yeah, yeah.
captain, and then you
Yes,
officially
sir.
got
Yeah,
promoted to battalion. Okay,
yeah,
all right.
yeah.
So yeah, I mean,
Sure
this
did.
thing's fresh, man.
It is. It's hard to believe it's been a year. Me and my wife were talking the other day. It's like
Yeah.
it's been a year that you've been doing this. I'm like,
Talk to me
wow.
about talk to me about that transition from a company boss to now a battalion boss. Because when you're the company captain, you get your company squared away, you get them dialed in, they know your expectations, right?
Right.
There's this level of competency that runs through. They know what's expected of them. They know what to expect from you. And then all
Right.
of a sudden, you go from your 4-man or 5-man company, right, to
Right.
a
Yeah.
battalion.
To battalion these. So I have 6 captains and all these other officers, things like that. So again, I'm learning that.
Sure.
I've learned that from Jim, a few other good captains that were out there that have expectations, for your company. And so I'm doing the same thing and trying to give the expectation to each
Sure.
captain, and then let
Sure.
let that thing let it filter out. And so just between normal vacations and time off and all these other things, it's been a challenge to try to get everybody on the same page.
I'm sure.
And so
I'm very sure of
that's
that.
still the plan, is to
Yeah.
try to and that's important. Again, I think clear expectation. The guys know who you are, what you're expecting out of them, things like that. From me all the way down to the rookie firefighter, which I think we do a good job at that. It's just some days spin my wheels, and other days are victories. So um, try to get that message out of where we're going, not just as a shift, as a battalion, as a department, where we're trying to get going, where we're headed to.
Yeah.
So to get that visions to out there is sometimes difficult, because
Sure.
again, call volume, all kinds of other things kind of get roadblocks get in the way.
Every
So
day.
it
Every
is.
day. And
So
is,
I would say it took me a while. That I think I was a captain from 2013 until this past June, or this past November, that I got promoted. So I would say those, to me, like those years went by like that. Those 10, 11 years like went, what happened? And, which was great. So we had some of these guys that wrote you the email, and I know this goes on in every company, that there was a whiz bang company. Everybody clicked. Everybody was on the page. Everybody knew what's what
right.
the day was, what we're going to do, this and that. And I know that'll eventually come. I have a great battalion. I have great captains. I have great people. We've got work to do in every department, every whatever you want to call it. That again, to put our nose down and do the work to get where we can have that same feeling throughout the whole shift. So
there's something about that feeling, right? Like when things whiz bang, like when things are connecting, and then all of a sudden there's a first due fire, companies perform and they perform well.
They really do.
It's that validation, right? To believe in the process.
Totally. And back to the training aspect of it, we had a shift break the other day. We had a fire go out, and so it was a mix of shifts. Had a B shift, C shift type thing on the south side. Had a good house fire going on, and so it's a culmination of 2 shifts. And I hear back from a captain the other day, actually yesterday, shot me a text, said, "Hey, here's these guys' names. They did an outstanding job on, even the smallest of jobs, sketching the hydrant, pulling a line, setting ladders, all that stuff." So again, it's great to hear at my level all those little times, that 10 minutes in the morning, checking that saw off, that the guy used it and did exactly what he was supposed to do with it. All those little victories, I can't explain it. It's awesome.
Focusing
really
on the basics, Chief.
Exactly. It really is.
I love it.
And doing the job. Love it.
So what else excites you? We got some time left here. What else excites
you?
I mean, training's important to you, obviously. You're still getting your wings with the battalion spot. What else about the fire service in general? Like what excites you?
I can tell you, I still take classes. Again, I've taken that saying to heart. Again, when you stop learning, you need time to retire.
Yeah.
So I still love. I teach for the state. I teach driver operator programs for the state. Okay. So I'm out there doing that when I can. Again, schedule's busy is all get out with teenage boys and going in different directions. But I still love to teach. I'm still involved in the academies. teaching ladders and ventilation and rig company stuff, all that stuff. So I'm passionate about that stuff. So even off duty is like maybe planning, what's going on next week at the academy. Like we're going out and doing ventilation training, things like that. We're always squared away for that. So that stuff excites me. Again, I learned that from Jim and a few others that were just passionate about teaching. And I know I'm not the best at it, but again, I try like hell to get the message out of like, this is how this works, especially the skills of fire service. So I guess I'm just eat up with it. It's in there. I love doing the job.
Well, you should, because it's fun. I mean, we can't lose sight of it, right? We can't lose sight of it. And I often think, like, I interviewed a chief of department today from a metropolitan city, and we were chatting, and I was just thinking the whole time, it's like, do you lose? And I didn't ask him this, and I should. Now that I think about it more and more, I probably should have, but just how my inquisitive mind works. But I wonder, it's like, as you climb the ranks in bigger departments, do you lose the fun? Like, do you lose sight of this job's supposed to have laughs involved and the camaraderie and or as you go up the chain, do you feel more isolated and alone? I wonder.
And I could say that, without getting too deep into it. Again, realize that you're totally right. As far as sometimes, and I've said this before, leadership is lonely, and I've heard that from countless leaders in the fire service. That again, to make tough decisions and all those other things, sometimes you're standing there by yourself. But knowing that the relationship that you have with guys, that they realize what you're doing and why you're doing it, and how you had to do this and that they just, hey, I understand, Chief, let's move on.
Yeah.
And hopefully, again, that still excites me to get in the truck. It's not blowing the cue. It's that poor old electric siren driving down the road in a pickup truck, getting people out of the way. Again, I take the job serious again when I get there. And then when I do try to get involved, like a packing hose or something like at the end of the fire is over, the incident's over, we're training's over, something like that, and I go to grab a ladder, they're like shoving me out of the way, like, get out of here, Chief, you can't do that. It's like, give me a break, man. I want to put my hands on this stuff.
Absolutely.
I can do it, So hopefully that as you grow in rank, you don't lose sight of what you got in it for to start with,
I think so. And I've said this a couple times now, is as fire chiefs, whatever rank chief you are, don't forget you're a fireman. You're still a fireman.
You were a fireman. Exactly.
You're still a fireman. Like you started your career, volunteer or career, you started it pushing a line through the front door. And just because you now wear white or gold, it doesn't mean that you lose. You're still a fireman.
That's right.
If you're 5 towns over passing by a house that's on fire, you're going to go kick open that front door and try to
exactly. You're stopping. Exactly.
You're not going to sit in your car and make a phone call and call come in. Like, get out of here. Right? You're a fireman.
Right. Get out
and do something. Sight of that. I don't. This job's supposed to. I forget who said it, but if you're not having fun, you're doing it wrong. Right.
That's right.
I think we need to really focus on that and say it's okay to have fun with this. It's okay to have
fun. Totally.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It makes people stay in love with it. It makes people fall in love with it, and then it makes people stay in love with it.
Well, that's right. And there again, I think guys coming to the job and doing it daily. Again, not counting all the shenanigans that goes on in the kitchen at the kitchen table where we can have talks and all this other stuff. It's out there doing the job. Like, did you see how he did that? And they just rib each other, and that's that team, and that's all that dynamic is just awesome. That's what makes it the fire service.
Yeah, so, I agree with you, Chief. Battalion Chief Tom Gherman. Thank you, Chief. Thanks for joining me today. What a great conversation.
Well, I'm humbled again. I appreciate you. Thanks for having me on. And it's been a good talk.
It's a great message. And like I said, this is what this podcast is all about. It's about sharing the good word of the job, and that comes from every corner of it. And I just appreciate you for trusting me with your story today and taking an hour out of your busy schedule. Scheduling's always hard. You said you got teenage boys and life, and firehouse. So
that's right.
I get it. But to take an hour today and to just share a little of your message with us, it was fantastic. And
Jeremy, I appreciate it. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. I appreciate the opportunity. Thanks for the good talk, and you ever need anything from me, you know where I'm at. Reach out.
Hell yeah, I'll take you up on that. Don't you worry. I don't know much about Roanoke, but I'll get down there one day for sure.
Well, I think one of your Facebook posts or something like that had some Roanoke trucks on it.
Could have been. You know, we got a couple guys send pictures, and I'm actually in Norfolk twice a month.
Oh, really?
I am.
Gotcha.
So I'm down in that Portsmouth. How do you say that?
Portsmouth.
Yeah. So I'm down there. I'm down there like twice a month now. So
well, that's something we didn't even get into, but all the committees and stuff that have helped on. I'm on the truck committee, and I enjoy that. It's been awesome to be a part of that. And again, not just on the operation side of it, how we design the truck and make sure it fits, and doing the right stuff when you're spending all these millions of dollars, you know, on stuff that. So the stuff I see you posting, it is awesome. I think, like, man, that's a great idea.
The apparatus innovation content for us at National Fire Radio has been very big. And in fact, it's that section of content is being blown up even more so. We have some plans in the works to really blow that up. What we've come to find out is the amount of trucks that are being built with the influence of what we're sharing. What we're doing is facilitating the conversation, right? Like I talked to you before about the importance of the podcast and putting the message of the senior man out there in perpetuity.
That's right.
The other idea is custom fire apparatus are built and designed for what you need in your municipality, and what I might find to be unique or weird, it's standard to you because that's what you require. It doesn't mean that somebody across the country has been looking for an answer to do the same thing. They just haven't come up with it yet. And all of a sudden, boom, they see a picture on social media and go, holy crap, that's how we can do it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that, again, I think that innovation over the years, being on a truck committee, that we take stuff to the builder and we talk this, say this and that, and they go, well, what are you thinking? Like, well, can we do this? Can we make that? And they're like, yeah, sure we can.
Yeah.
And then it turns into this like thing where you see it on other trucks, like, hey, they got that idea from us. Like that, it's awesome because it works.
I can tell you for a fact there are probably 4 or 5 things that we posted over the years that have gone viral to the point where we're seeing it impacted on builds every single day now.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I know for a fact the apparatus manufacturers reference our content daily. I know that some of the manufacturers have a library of our content. And we have some cool things coming out that are going to make the functionality and usability of our content even more so for truck committee.
That's awesome, because I can tell you that's the whole reason I got on the truck committee. When I did that stuff, is going into a lieutenant's job and realizing like this switch is over here and that knob's over here. Like, hey, what's that? Let's put this stuff together. You know, like, can we get this 100%. Here? And the chief in charge, like, that's a pretty good idea. So, come on, see what else you got. You know, so it turned into this stuff again. It all boils down to the function of the truck. If it's Jeremy standing in front of that pump panel, or Jeremy standing at the turntable, that air device, that it's doing common sense operations, you know, and the function of the vehicle is just comes to it, you know.
That's it. And in the apparatus world, there's a terrible disconnect within the own apparatus manufacturers themselves. They'll tell you they can't do it. Meanwhile, they built the same exactly what you want on the West Coast, but they have no idea to know that.
Well, again, I think it's awesome. Luckily, we have we're a Pierce Fire Department, so we have a huge relationship with our salesman. That's what you want to call him.
Of course,
he has a cache. He's like you. He has a cache of thousands upon thousands of photos of this department did that or this and that. Hey, you want this? It can't be done. Oh, BS. Let me find it. He goes, well, here it is. We want that. Yeah. So he's a huge resource for us, and he has been absolutely awesome. He's been on numerous, thousands of builds. He's been working for them for years. Nice. And it's just like so what you're doing is helping the little old Podunk Fire Department and BF wherever.
That's right.
That, hey, we need a tool for that. Well, they make it. They make it. So
no doubt
it can be done.
It's awesome. I appreciate that, pal. Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Tom Gherman. Thank you, brother, for joining me on the podcast today.
Jeremy,
It's a great conversation.
Much.
Good. Don't go anywhere. Yeah, stay right here. I'm just going to sign off the podcast. I'm going to come right back to you, so don't go anywhere. Guys, thank you for tuning in to another episode of the National Fire Radio Podcast. Battalion Chief Tom Gherman out of Roanoke, Fire and EMS out of Virginia. A great conversation. And do me a favor. Talk about the job. Take this job back to the firehouse and talk about it, because when you talk about the job, we're making the job better. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you at the next one. Jeremy, National Fire Radio.